I didn't get the two streams, both the the Substack stream and the other stream started, but I have it going now. So people will start hearing it on YouTube and Substack and Twitch and all the others. So wow, that
At least until they buy those.
well, it's interesting because I gave a spiel yesterday where I told, and I'm gonna get into that in a minute because you mentioned a very important thing. You said we are going to have to establish our own means of communication, and if you remember, there is in the days of the muckrakers, there was no internet, there was no, it was all paper, voice, flesh to flesh conversations, etc. And that is where we must return. So, well, it's not just the flesh and flesh communication that we need to return to, but we have to start again, remembering that we can't live and die by one medium. We have to be ready on every single platform. Now, as it is, whenever we broadcast, we make sure to do that. So we're not just on air, we are on just about every platform simulcasting. And that is so very important because what we're seeing is that Donald Trump is methodically, and again with the aid, or rather with the aid of the plutocrats controlling everything. So let me just tell you guys this. You hear that on Friday, tomorrow, he'll be discussing who in the United States is going to take over TikTok. Now, of course, that is going to be, the assumption is that it's going to be Larry Ellison, the CEO of Oracle and now the richest person in the world. It's amazing. You don't hear much about Oracle anymore. You don't hear much about Ellison anymore. But still, not only is he the richest person in the world, but what you find out is he controls all of our data, all of it. So the Oracle database and all of these, we are fully database from this guy that nobody hears of. There was a time during the internet craze, you'd hear about Larry Ellison all the time. One of the geniuses was Larry Ellison, Bill Gates, Iran Brin, and all these guys. But they quietly went into the quiet space. And but as they went into the quiet space, they became part of this. It is ironic that Trump was always talking about the state. What state did he call it? He called it the
Deep
some
state.
kind, the deep state. And the thing about it is there's a certain reality to it, but it's not as he explained. And now he's in charge of it, along with all the billionaires that are acquiescent to him. I don't know if you saw when Zuckerberg, when he asked Zuckerberg, how much are you investing in the American economy?
Right.
And Zuckerberg said, Zuckerberg said $600 billion. And then off mic, Zuckerberg said, you caught me off guard. Was that okay?
Right. They were just making it up. And, for folks who do not because there are people who do not actively use social media. I will hear it all the time at protests. And so people, just to give you a brief explainer, for example, I was at a gathering of citizens, and the gentleman who does social media for the Harris County Democratic Party came and spoke. And he said,
you talking about Brett?
His name's this guy.
That's fine.
And he said to the group, so if I put the word, this is Twitter he's referencing, if I put the word support in there or something that connotates money, my traffic goes way, way down. Support the Harris County Democratic Party. But if I don't use financial words, if there are certain words that I leave out, my traffic goes up. The algorithms, and I think people need the 101 explainer. The algorithms will crush your content based on the words you're using. The algorithms will crush your content based on the words you're using. And so now I'm pretty sure where Egberto is going. So Larry Ellison takes over TikTok, and your TikTok in political opposition to what's going on, the algorithm will suppress it, or it'll just be automatically pulled through some algorithm, deleted.
Yeah, I mean, it is. I mentioned some of that, but I didn't think about youth support, because at the end of my programs online, I always make sure to do that. Maybe I should stick to doing that through emails, because
that was the specific word he used.
Yeah, support.
Support. He said that really impacted his Twitter, the Twitter traffic. And this is just the Harris County Democratic Party. This is mainstream stuff, and so this also applies to more independent voices such as myself and Egberto, or someone who's just at home, or to an academic, assuming the academic feels they have any freedom of speech. But if you are on social media and you're looking for a way to communicate, this really is a constant pressure and headwind on what you're able to communicate. And then that on top of not having access to forums, being concerned to protest. I mean, you really see a multi-pronged effort to crush our freedom of expression. And now of course, now we've designated Antifa. Trump intends to designate, or has designated, Antifa as a terrorist organization. I don't think any such entity exists.
That's what. So when I saw that one of the entities that really have to watch themselves is Antifa, I simply cracked up. There is no Antifa. Antifa is a decentralized set of actions that people call Antifa.
But it isn't even at this point. I mean, at this point, it's not even that. I mean, I haven't heard. I mean, I'm moderately plugged in to what's going on, and I've heard of groups, and I look at social media. But what I'm concerned about, so yes, there is no, I don't even know that there's a loosely decentralized Antifa anymore. Like there might still be an anonymous, or something like that. But what I'm concerned about is that anyone who deems themselves anti-fascist, or who references Trump as anti-fascist, will then be deemed Antifa. That's that the definition is so loose that anyone and they can be put in it, and they want to start. Trump began, as mentioning, using RICO prosecutions, traditionally used against the organized crime, to or organize groups of protesters, to their view, be prosecuted as acting in conspiracy. And you saw that in Georgia. I think most of it was dismissed, but when people were protesting the Cop City construction in Atlanta, some of the protesters got RICO violations, and they were just raising money in some. These people weren't doing something more violent to the place. So but the upshot of this is that I encourage everyone to remain in the fight and fully join the fight if you're not, because our elected officials and our institutions are not doing so, and our media is not fully captured, but in good part captured.
Yeah, I think that is important, folks. I need to welcome. We started late with all the issues we've been having, so I want to welcome John Cotter. John Cotter is in the house. He says, though he says Antifa is a threat, and we all know it is not, the base eats those lies up. Yes, John, you nailed it. Moz Maniac says, good morning. Happy to see the live going now. I got nervous. Don't worry, man. I should have had it started. That was completely my fault. Let's see. Lee the Bearcat from Austin, Texas says, mandates were same, Neil. I don't know what mandates you mean, Lee the Bearcat, so kind of explain what you mean there. I want to give a big welcome to Joe from Los Angeles, California. We have Profesora LBW. She says, the flames are appropriate this morning. You're absolutely right, LBW. Lorraine Livingston, Jackie, Federico Francia, Ron Frients, Gail Cornish, Bonnie June Brewer, Judy, Danish, Cheryl Elkins, Lynette Sills, Lulu, It's Never Happening. Jane B. in North Carolina, John A. Davis, I believe, in Minneapolis. Did I get that right? Bill Franklin, MX, JRC, Susan E. Griffin, Catherine Wider. We have people from every corner of the country in, every middle of the country in. So we are there. Now, let me tell you, Neil, I want people to not be fearful, but I want people to have resolve. Now, yesterday, Obama, or the night before, Obama came out and finally put the urgency onto some things. But, like usual, I'm saying, too cautious, too late. Too cautious, too late. You and I and the whole left has been talking about this before the election because the writings were on the wall. The writings were on the wall. Project 2025 was on the wall. They gave it to us. They gave us their footprint. They gave us their path. I mean, they didn't want to hide this because they wanted to be able to say today, if they were able to squeak a win, we're just doing what we said we're going to do. We follow exactly what we said we're going to do. Cheryl Elkins in Massachusetts says, we here in Massachusetts are committed to dealing with these tyrants. It's going to be a hard, but we've done this before. You're absolute. That is the kind of resolve I love to hear. If you heard what Cheryl Elkins said, and folks, let me tell you, the phones are down right now, but you can go to the chat on YouTube or Substack and chime into Egberto on Substack, chime into Egberto off the record, and you can chat with me. And I am not sure if I have it connected, but I may be able to use our 3 o'clock line. Let me see if I.
And let me also
Go
say
ahead.
that
Yes.
it's not just the left. If you talk to if you talk to rank and file, just rank and file Democrats, or if you speak to just across the ideological spectrum of our side of the aisle, so from the center on, you will hear these concerns about democracy, authoritarianism, white supremacy. I wish they'd come quicker. But you will. I want to make it's important to me that we broaden our coalitions opposing.
Yes, thank you for saying that, Neil. That is very important. You're absolutely right.
It's not nearly at all the left. Or even I'll tell you, someone who I've retweeted a few times is Chase Oliver, who was the Libertarian nominee,
right,
for president. And if you remember from the 2024 campaign, one of the few places that on Trump's side of the aisle that he got booed out of was the Libertarian convention, and some of them actually have stuck on the right side of the issue. So it's important to know that there are people. Don't just look to the left, and it's important because what each of us need to be doing is having conversations with friends, family, and coworkers about what's going on. The burdens of all this are getting shifted to us as money captures and authoritarianism and white supremacy captures so much. We're going to have to engage in private conversations and do things that maybe we're not used to doing.
Yeah, I think it was O'Donnell who said that Lawrence O'Donnell who said for all those people that are waiting for corporations to be the backbone of democracy, it is time that you forget about it, because never in our history have they ever come through for trying to protect democracy, which is an absolute true statement.
Right.
In fact, autocracy, a corporation by definition is an autocracy. There is the executives of that corporation work. Yeah, they work on the behalf of the shareholders, but the shareholders don't have direct involvement in the management of that corporation. So corporations exactly occur as autocracy. The United States of America loves, around the world, we preach democracy here at home, but around the world, we prefer working with autocrats because we just tell them one time what we want and they ensure that it happens. You take a look at Ferdinand Marcos from Philippines. For the longest time, we always knew he was an autocrat. We look at Baby Doc from Haiti. For the longest time, we always knew they were autocrat. We look at Somoza, Nicaragua. We always knew he was an autocrat. We that is what we want to work with. The only reason they had an issue with Panama at the time was Torrijos Herrera. Omar Torrijos Herrera was yes, he was a dictator, happened to be a benevolent dictator, but he also did not take his cues from from America or anybody else. So they didn't like him. They killed him. And then we got Noriega. And of course, Noriega worked for the longest time for the CIA. And while he was working for the CIA, he was A-OK until he decided to buck America. And then we invaded Panama. I mean, so these are histories that one doesn't get over here, but the rest of the world sees. And now what is occurring in the United States with the systematic shutdown of the media. I mentioned this on my 3 o'clock show, and I need to mention it again here, folks. And it goes as follows. And this is important for you to understand. Right now, we have been used to using social media as a means of communication, as if we can get our messages across via social media. Let me give you some numbers again. Zuckerberg, the person you saw having at the state dinner with Donald Trump, who was sitting at Donald Trump's right hand, and Donald Trump, and with him telling Donald Trump, "Did I say the things?" I'm paraphrasing, but he said in effect, "Did I say the things that you needed me or wanted me to say?" Okay, we had Bill Gates at the left hand of what's her name? Miss Trump, Melania Trump, who's next to the president. Bill Gates, another billionaire, next to him. And we had a set of billionaires speaking to this guy as a sycophant. Yes, Mr. President, thank you for the great things that you're doing, etc. Our economy is starting to tank. These billionaires are well aware of it. They are well aware of it. But they continue to say these things. They're not coming to save us. We have to save ourselves. Go ahead, Neil.
The economy is, I still can't get over the statistic. I've seen it reported in ABC News 2 or 3 weeks ago that the price of vegetables went up 38% in July. The tariffs on Brazil are causing the price of coffee to go up. Rent, home insurance, flood insurance, health insurance, and folks, they don't, if you need, as you think about your conversations, and maybe even sit home and sketch a few points, sketch a few bullet points, or what I say to different people in my life, because some people did vote on their perception of the economy. That doesn't change the white supremacy and the authoritarianism is central to what, but some folks did vote based on there. And is there someone in your life who who would be impacted by hearing the direct statistics on the economy? And on a deeper level, these tech people, Peter Thiel and all that, they think AI is replacing everyone in a few years down the line anyway, and most of us aren't needed, and it's difficult. It's difficult. It's it can be difficult to sit and think about it. What these people intend and plan or sound fantastical when you tell others, and yet there it is.
Let me just say, because I think a lot of people are fearing AI because it's going to take over the world. I have always told our audience that not because somebody has the big B and pretty soon the big T next to their name, meaning billionaire or trillionaire, means that they have they understand critical thinking or anything like that. Anybody thinks, look, AI at any point in time, AI has the basic knowledge of the public as it speaks right now. But at some time, if the public is not regenerating itself, even AI, there's none. AI does need the intellect to program it, intellect to read it, and it needs to read behaviors of people to exist. AI is never going to replace people, because even if you make the assumption that AI is us, it reached status at some stasis at some point, and those are things, like I said, they don't understand. That is so much why those of us with a platform have to keep these messages out. We have to keep this message out.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, continue, please.
No, I do want to commend the Houston Chronicle for an editorial yesterday. People sometimes will be dismissive of the Chronicle there, or they'll dismiss local media, or be frustrated that it's beyond a paywall. The Chronicle does consistently run decent stories, and with the Houston landing gone, there aren't many reliable sources of local information. The Chronicle had an editorial yesterday about ICE. I don't know if it's appeared in print yet. A little bit from it. Houston has largely been spared the immigration policing spectacle that keeps other cities on edge. It's tempting to call our lack of spectacle a mercy. It may even be a calculation. By maintaining a perception and minimum of cooperation between the feds and local law enforcement, our local leaders keep Washington satisfied, keep guard troops off the streets, and keep the cameras pointed elsewhere. But in Houston, the roundups are here already, just smaller and scattered, easy to miss in our sprawling city. You hear about them outside apartment complexes and Lowe's in Tomball, in Conroe Spring in Pasadena, in Gulfton and Sharpstown, outside strip malls with washaterias, and barbershops in the Fiesta grocery store along Little York and Aldine Westfield. So it calls upon our elected leaders locally, which is my Houston Democracy Project, locally, to talk about this. And I write about this in a blog post, and then I segue into what Texas Congressmember Ronnie Jackson said Tuesday, about trans people. We have to do something about this, Jackson said. We have to treat these people. We have to get them off the streets, and we have to get them off the internet. We can't let them communicate with each other. I'm all about free speech, but this is a virus, a cancer spreading across the country that's going to do great damage to normal, hardworking, law-abiding people. So I want folks to hear what this member of Congress, and we know it's the fringe, right? We can't dismiss anymore.
For now.
What I meant to say is it's the fringe that sets policy. That we hear it first, we think, but I want to just say this again. This is about trans people. We have to get them off the streets, and we have to get them off the internet. We can't let them communicate with each other. And if you remember last week, the Trump people, after the shooting at the school in Minneapolis, they don't reference the shooting, in Denver with white supremacists taking Second Amendment gun rights away from trans people, right? And these things are not far-fetched. And so in terms of our local leaders, if Houston elected leaders won't speak up about ICE now, what's the likelihood they'll speak up when trans people start getting rounded up? So, demand more from your local electeds, and don't take it as a joke. And we were talking about algorithm suppression, Larry Ellison having all our data. They have the ability to figure out who's who, and to cut off people's communication channels.
That is how good AI is, right? The good thing about the internet and its decentralization is that you can pick off a person here and there, but what you can't do is stop the communication altogether. But what we must continue to tell folks is that they have got to not be fearful. They have got to engage.
Or work past your fear.
Right. Well, exactly. I think that's a better way of saying you have to work past your fear, because that is what they depend on. What you have to do is make them fear you. And you know what they fear the most is a lot of you educated? Is a lot of you critically thinking? Is a lot of you finding ways to find out what's happening? And that's why the first thing they're after right now is the media. That's why Kimmel is gone. That's why Colbert is gone, because these guys were pleasant informers. You know, Neil and I are nerds. We come out and we say things, and we have a way that we can talk to folks, and we hope that you go out there and spread the word. But you know, the Kimmels and the Colberts have humongous audiences, and they know how to do politics with a smile, and they know how to get you to think, right? And they figure that's a clear and present danger for the ills that we want to do. And if that's a clear and present danger, we shut them down. So we shut down Kimmel, Colbert. Now he says the next one they're going to work for is the next nighttime show by Seth Meyers. So now he wants to get rid of Seth Meyers, right? So get ready, folks. Yeah. Seth Meyers is about to go.
And not that Saturday Night Live is some hotbed of radicalism, but it will whenever it starts this September. I guess that'll be next. And I also want to point out, you know, if you're listening, and one thing I focus a lot about is autonomy. If you are out there and you are older, or you are independently wealthy, listening today, use your autonomy. You know, we're seeing a lot of people. I mean, I could understand a student fearful of posting on social media for when she or he is looking for their job in 2 years. I'm not saying that's what they should do, but you know, I understand the calculations. Or someone in a government job. You see how they're going after teachers. And another attack on free speech. If you are older, or you have some autonomy, maybe you live in a one earning household, and it's the other person who works. Please use it. Please use it. Please use it to protest. Please use it to publicly comment. Please use it to speak to others. People really need to think about, where am I in my life, and how can I be active? And at a lot of protests, it is frequently older folks who are there, and they'll say, "Oh boy, where are the young people?" And there's a lot of answers to that. But of course, in Nepal, the young people did show up. The young folks did show up in Nepal. But if you have the ability to speak without fear that an employer is going to come down on you, or that Greg Gabbett is going to tweet out your name, please use that, and start using it today.
Mary B says that she is let's see, she says, "I'm stunned that this orange buffoon is scaring all these corporations. He's such a fool. It's just unbelievable." What happens is, it is not Trump. Remember, Trump is just the face and the pompous buffoon that you talk about. That's true. But it's those behind him. It's the Peter Thiels. They are the ones that are really running the show.
Yeah.
These are the guys behind the scenes that they want that. The billionaires coalesce quickly because, again, we are a country with sovereign currency. We are a country that can make crypto real. We are the country that can do all these things, and the billionaires have to make that decision. Do I just abide, or do I fight? And what does it take if I fight? And actually, there's no reason for them to fight, because they're in a win-win situation. You hear us talk about corporations all of the times. Corporations are, the best corporation, the absolute best corporation that takes great care of its employees, that provide them insurance. Ultimately, that corporation's charter is to maximize profits for their shareholders. There's no benevolency in that thing called corporation. Yeah. And when people understand that, that immediately changes the paradigm. Whenever I remember and I've spoken to many of you about this before. I remember I was on a panel. It was one left-wing progressive, which was myself. We had a left of center Democrat. We had a right of center Republican, and we had a MAGA. And we started talking, and the interesting thing where I became the lonely person was whenever we talked about policy, about what what types of policies America would make America a better place. And I was from the sect that said, we have countries that we can look at, not to mimic, but to see how it works and get examples and make it better. Denmark, it always comes to mind. And the first thing that the right of center Republicans said was, how does that affect business? And that should tell you everything you need to know about how the thinking process of these folks. If your first question is, how does it affect business? You've missed the point. Your first question should always be, how does it affect humanity? How does it affect the people in your country? And you make sure that you create policy that thinks people first. And then you create a business model that works in that framework that treats people well first. And that is what we've been taught, that somehow business first, and then everything would fall into the place. It's no different than what you hear about trickle-down economics, which there is a mathematical reason why it doesn't trickle down. And it doesn't trickle down, it trickles up if you put the money below. Because again, for companies to go out there and build factories, for companies to produce more product, for companies to give more services, they have to have a population below that has the money to service whatever they're going to create. So you have to put it in the hands of the demand before you put it into the hands of the supply. It's so basic, but they know it. I don't remember who sent me a message that said, Egberto, it is a class war. Let's see. John Carter says, sounds like they will be the next targets of the Fed's kidnapping. It doesn't surprise me. John also says that will be the three major networks in Trump's pocket. Yeah, exactly. And Kathy T says, I don't watch Seth Meyers, but now I have to. I have to find out what they don't want me to hear. I love that statement.
Definitely support Seth Meyers. But then also look locally. We can do both. Also look locally, wherever, and for Egberto's Substack and people listening all over. What are the local? Maybe Google around, look around. Who are the local activists? What is the local radio station? In my hometown of Cincinnati, there's my other hometown. There's a station, WAIF, that is not Pacifica or NPR. It's a completely
independent,
listener funded. Yeah, completely independent. So wherever you are, find that resource and support it. One of the biases, I'll call it a bias, and it's frustrating to me, is James Tallarico gets into the Senate Democratic primary for U.S. Senate against Colin Allred, and that's fine. I don't care one way or another really, but that's fine. But people keep looking for the next electoral savior. Mm-hmm. Is this finally the race we can win? Well, it's a long way to November 2026. All right, as we look at the daily attacks on our rights, and that presumes that the votes will be counted fairly, which there's no reason to think that the votes will be counted fairly at this point. But all of the energy that discussion of who will be in the Senate primary, we see machinations around now our county judge race, where Erica Lee Carter, Sheila Jackson Lee's daughter, decided she wasn't getting in the race yesterday. And so now we have Letitia Plummer and Anise Parker in the Democratic primary. Please focus, give some thought to what you can do locally. What activists can I support locally? And what if instead of maybe engaging in what the Democratic field is in 2028 or internet talk or Facebook talk about the next Senate Democratic primary, and we were talking about class. I referenced ICE earlier. There's a racial So the ICE is operating in Houston. I spoke to an attorney in Houston who would know, and they told me a little bit about ICE's activities here in Houston and Harris County, and it's class, it's race, and it's class. People are being profiled based on work vans and trucks, right? They're rich, wealthier, or nicer cars and trucks are not being pulled over. Some law enforcement agencies and officers are arresting people they might not normally arrest for minor things because even if they're not guilty, once in the system, they are subject to immigration enforcement. This person had the belief that people are being arrested because ICE is here who previously wouldn't be, in the hope that once they're in the system, because there are not enough resources by design, of course, people scooped up by ICE don't get processed for 2 or 3 days. During this time, their families don't know where they are, and it is not current where it's not clear where many of them go. There was a story in the Miami Herald 2 days ago that 1/3, I think that was the number, of the people who have gone to the alligator torture facility in Florida cannot be found. And I don't even want to, that's something out of a science fiction movie, a little bit, if you start to think about it. But these attacks are race-based because brown skin being targeted. And soon ICE will be picking up political opponents and the rest of it. But it's something.
I want to go back to something that you said before, Neil. You spoke about representative, I think the Texas representative that used to be Donald Trump's medical guy,
and
doctor.
Obama's doctor.
Was he Obama's doctor too?
He was. I know it sounds unbelievable, but yes.
Wow. Okay, well, what's his name again?
Ronnie Jackson.
Ronnie Jackson. If you listen to the words that Ronnie Jackson used, we need to get rid of these trans. We have to prevent the trans from being able to communicate. And he goes through that whole barrage there. I want you to think off the internet. I want you to think here. What do you think they're going to do if any one person becomes a problem to that administration? Then you'll be in those crosshairs and there will be a reason to take you off. And then if you become a woman working against to try to bring back a woman's right to choose, then you'll be in the crosshairs and they'll try to shut you down. And it goes on and on and on until you get just about everybody except that sole few. If you think you have to remember this. The whole idea is to get rid of dissension. And I hate to say this, but we have been telling the entire country, this movement have been telling the entire country from way before the election that these things were going to happen. And folks just sit back. We told the farmers what was going to happen. We told the average worker that voted on tips, no tax on tips, that it was a fraud. We told the folks that vote no tax on overtime, it was a fraud. We gave the mathematical reason why it was a fraud.
Sure.
But they have more money to advertise, more so than we do. And so, I mean, look, it's upon us now. As Ezra Klein has said, it is no longer we are approaching fascism. We are here. So we are now all who don't want it. Whether you like it or not, you are now the opposition. The question is whether you want to be food or you will make sure not to be food.
And we want to remind folks that the phones are down today. The phones are down today, and normally we would have callers fully involved in the conversation. So if you're a first-time listener and you're wondering where is the input from folks, this show values input from the audience greatly, as Egberto's doing with the Substack, but the phones are down, and it's important. talk about this that we feel like it's a telethon. It's like a Jerry Lewis telethon. It's important. It's important to act locally, and I just emphasize that over and over and over. We are not conditioned frequently to act locally. There's always been that group involved in the school board or local causes, but we are conditioned to look for the statewide, for the nationwide, in part because we're looking for the savior. Part sometimes I think we're looking for the easier path. It is easier to talk about state politics than that council person who you may know or who may be connected to your employer. So here in Houston, Harris County, the whole Houston region, Montgomery, Galveston, Brazoria, Fort Bend, all of it, Chambers, please look for the way to act. Think what works locally for you. Maybe even sit down and jot it down. Who can I talk to? What point would sell best? How can I communicate now that the other networks, communication networks, are being cut?
The network that is going to be the hardest to cut, folks, is called email. Email and your telephone. Emails and your telephone.
And face to
the
face.
two hardest, and face to face. So remember, that still exists. So now a plug for both. Let's see, easy action today. Cancel Disney Plus. This is from our brother Glenn Ryan. He says, easy action today. Cancel Disney Plus. Just canceled mine, and the best part, they asked for feedback. Guess what mine was? Trust me, Glenn, I know exactly what your feedback was, brother. Yeah. I know exactly what it was. But here's, I want to tell a quick story.
Because they own ABC.
Exactly. I want to...
whatever the arrangement is, yeah.
Yes, I want to point this out, guys. This is important because this is how effective these guys are going to be. I am on a very conservative list, and there's a group called the 1776 Project. The goal of the 1776 Project is to get rid of all progressive teachers throughout. I think that's what they inferred from the email they sent me, and I'm blogging about it today. To get control of every school board. And I got an email yesterday from them that saying, here are the tasks that they gave me to do. What the other actions to do. Go out there and check for every tweet that every teacher makes. Pass it on to them, because then the pressure will be applied. They will send these tweets directly to the teachers' parents. I'm telling you, these guys are databased up.
Yeah.
You wanna
right? We keep calling them. We keep assuming that we're smarter. That always
right.
The minute you think you're smarter than someone is when you get it thrown right back at you.
LBW, have a great time on your job. I know you got to go. Let me tell you, folks, they are databased up, so they are going to be able to match teacher with student, parent. And they're going into all these so that they can lie to the parents and get the parents all pissed off. And then the parents go ahead and get these teachers fired, which so far, according to our governor, there are 180, I think it's 180 teachers in Texas right now whose licenses are potentially up for suspension. Because of this work.
And
so
I mean, yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, talk.
Actually, let me before the hour's up. So school boards, Cypress Fairbanks, which is a lot of unincorporated Harris County. Cypress Fairbanks has a school board election this November. It is the 50th, at least as a few years ago, it was the 50th largest district in the United States. It's the third largest in Texas. If you live in the Cypress Fairbanks school district, as some of you must, please, I'm sorry, I don't have the candidates' names in front of me, but if you live in the Cypress, there is a slate of 3. You can figure out who the candidates are. You'll be able to see who attunes to your values. There's also HISD, Houston Independent School District. Even though the takeover is continuing, Mike Miles was at City Hall yesterday, regretfully. They are working in anticipation of the takeover being lifted. But I cannot stress the importance of the Cypress Fairbanks Independent School District, which has shifted hard right over the past few years. and is one of the 50 largest districts in the entire United States. If you live there, figure it out, and the Houston Democracy Project will be having a list of candidates soon as a reference.
Yeah, I mean, it is important, folks. Let me see. We also have Joanne, who says the MAGAs that I talked to before the election said that he didn't mean what he said.
Right.
That's what they thought. Yeah. Let me check a few more since we don't have the phones. I got it. John Carter says apparently they are also getting the seniority list at airlines to search social media of those on the list and then report them, those posters, to the corporation in attempt to get them, those folks fired. Yep, you have to be careful in what you're placing on the internet because you're being watched. But let me tell you, folks.
But you retain the ability to email, call, and have face-to-face conversations.
That's what we got to stress.
And you get to get that in your pattern of behavior.
And remember, so now, yesterday I suggested, and we had a lot of members who suggested good newsletters to follow. Of course, there's mine, there's Neil's, etc. Folks, it is imperative that the people that you trust, the programs that you trust, the newsletters that you trust, that they have a way to get in touch with you. Because when election time comes around, because Donald Trump would then be in control of Twitter, in control of TikTok, in control of Facebook, in control of Instagram, in control of Threads, they can put out a completely false narrative, including with AI generated data. A friend of mine just started doing their program and pictures. A friend of mine, just a very, very important guy that a lot of people watch, did his first program with an AI generated image of himself. And nobody, I looked at it, he placed it on YouTube, and I looked at, as soon as I saw it, because I know what cues to look for, I knew it was AI. But it was his voice, it was everything, and I looked to see if any of the commenters, the hundreds of comments under that video, said, hey guy, how come you're using a bot of yourself for your words? Because it was his words, and this is what he's all about. And nobody did it. And I'm sitting back down here and I'm saying, the way these guys are going to use AI is not going to be to broadcast on, because they have all your information. They can send these AI bots directly to your phone. They can send these AI bots directly to you that nobody else sees. And they can mess with your mind if you are not a critical thinker. We are in interesting times now where you are going to have to be the ambassador of truth. We promise ourselves, Neil, myself, we promise to be ambassadors of truth with the expectation that you all spread the truthfulness. Give me a closer, Neil.
Great. Houston Democracy Project, HoustonDemocracyProject.com, and you write, email, face-to-face conversation, phone conversations. Write down a list of people you can trust, people you'd like to influence, what points would work best on them, and don't give it up. Don't give it up. And if you have autonomy, you have an income, you don't work, you're retired, use it.
Absolutely. So folks, we're going to be getting out of here in a minute. I want to thank you all for listening. I want to tell you that you can write, if you have questions, you can write me directly at kpft@politicsdoneright.com, kpft@politicsdoneright.com. If you want to subscribe to the newsletter, meaning that you'll be able to see our newsletter that actually I send out with the program, before the program every day, you can do that at politicsdoneright.com/newsletter, politicsdoneright.com/newsletter. It is important that we stay informed. I love you all. I'm sorry we couldn't take calls today. We've had technical difficulties, but we're going to close this baby saying, my name is Egberto Willies. This is Politics Done Right. And you guys know how I end this baby. I am what?